Capernaum is important to my studies on the life of Jesus because of Matthew 9:1, where it says that once his ministry started, Jesus made this place to be his own city. The mother-in-law of Simon Peter lived here, and Matthew 8:14 says Peter's house was here too. Evidence this was where Peter and his mother-in-law's house was will be shown later. But meanwhile, I need to point out that this map and other maps plus diagrams will be used with permission from the Biblical Resources Center and are indicated with "From BRC" in the top right, bottom left, or right corners. Plus any diagrams, pictures, and artwork with "From RC" in these same corners will be used with permission from this book called Recovering Capernaum, which is published by the Franciscan Printing Press, and all alterations were done by me with permission.
Here we need to learn a new terminology. The word insula, the word also insula from island. So every house is an island in itself because we have a street in each side. Most people in Jesus' time would live on insula-style houses. Every insula we have between 40 and 60 rooms. Mistake if you think that they are rich and have those big houses to live on. 3 generations live together. Grandpa, grandma, mom and dad, and all the children. And when the children get married, they all get a room in the insula.
This diagram shows us better what we're looking at because these walls don't date back to the 1st century. The red in this diagram does date back to the 1st century, but the green dates back to the 4th century and the blue dates back to the mid-5th.
After Jesus' death, one normal house to meet would be Peter's mother-in-law house because so many of these teachings were there. So slowly her house became a church house. Not a church yet. For you to be a good Christian, you must be a good Jew. This is a place where Jews are gathering and praying and praising in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Messiah. But it's not a problem to the normal Jews at the time. That right over there,
the synagogue was only one insula away from Peter's house. Remember, it would be the Jewish leaders in Jerusalem that the disciples feared, but back home here in Galilee, the disciples apparently felt quite at home. And in John 16 verse 2, Jesus predicted that they would be put out of the synagogue, implying that he was asking them to stay until they were put out.
So these people here have no problem to break the bread, to drink the wine, and worship in the synagogue as well. So here we can see, look back to the house. The house starts to change shape and to become an orthogonal, 8-side building. So the first side there is the closest place today, like to be close to the preacher. That center part had 11 mosaic floors, one on top of another. This second one here had 6 floors, one on top of another, and this outer rim had 2. So many people are stepping on that floor that they need to be restored. How can you restore your mosaic floor? You put a new one on top of it. We also found on the plaster of these walls graffiti, and it has the name Yeshua spelled in it, and has words like to God and Peter and Jesus that people are scratching on the walls of the church.
In summary of this section, the conclusions that scholars and archaeologists reach are usually not as certain as we'd like them to be. At other times, their conclusions are very controversial. But the findings of archaeologists at Capernaum, and particularly Nazareth, are 2 of few places that are almost certain as being the places where Jesus truly was. And the one place that would be most certain will be discussed when we get to Jerusalem.